They say trust is like glass, once shattered, it can never be whole again. Imagine finding out the one person who taught you everything about loyalty, respect, and love was living a double life, pulling the strings behind your back like a master puppeteer. This is not just a story of betrayal. It's a nightmare that unfolded in the most unexpected way, forever changing the way I look at relationships, trust, and family. Buckle up, because this story will show you just how easily life can spiral out of control when secrets are revealed. Welcome to Fractured Bonds, where every story reveals a deeper truth. My dad wasn't just my father, he was my best friend. Growing up, we shared everything, and our relationship had always felt more like a brotherhood than a typical father-son dynamic. We talked about everything: sports, school, girls, life. There was never a secret between us, or so I thought. I'm a competitive tennis player, and through the sport, I formed an unbreakable bond with my mixed doubles partner. We were inseparable, both on and off the court, and our friendship quickly extended to our families as well. My mom and her mom became fast friends, often sitting together at our matches, cheering us on. At first, my dad wasn't really interested in tennis, but things began to change. He started showing up at our matches more often, making conversation with my partner's mom, and even cracking jokes with her during our breaks. I thought nothing of it; after all, my dad was a friendly guy. But as time passed, I began to notice subtle shifts in his behavior, and that's when everything began to unravel. It started innocently enough. My dad would send a few texts to my partner's mom here and there. He didn't hide it from me, often saying things like, "Oh, we're just talking about the match," or "She's asking how you and your partner are preparing for the next competition." I thought it was all above board, no big deal. But soon, those innocent texts became more frequent, and the tone of our conversations started to change. One evening, we were hanging out at home when I casually asked who he was texting. He quickly shrugged it off, saying, "Oh, just someone from work." Something felt off, but I ignored the pit in my stomach. After all, why would my dad lie to me? We had always been honest with each other. Still, the seeds of doubt were planted. I started noticing him spending more time on his phone, and when I glimpsed the profile picture on the screen, my best friend's mom, I knew something was wrong. But I stayed silent, choosing to believe his excuses. For now. A few weeks later, things took a darker turn. My dad became more secretive, retreating to the garage or his study for long, unexplained phone calls. Our once open conversations became strained, and I could sense him pulling away. It didn't help that he started attending more of my tennis matches, even when I hadn't asked him to come. At first, I was happy he was taking an interest, but then I noticed that he wasn't there for me at all. He was there for her. My partner's mom. One day, during a particularly intense match, I saw them whispering on the sidelines. They were too close, too comfortable. My heart raced, but I told myself it was nothing, just two adults talking. But the gnawing feeling in my gut told me otherwise. The turning point came during a weekend competition not far from home. My dad had agreed to meet me for lunch before the match, something we'd always done together. I arrived early, but he never showed. Hours passed, and when he finally arrived, he fed me some half-baked excuse about getting caught up at the store, running into an old friend. I wanted to believe him, I really did. But the next day, I found out the truth in the most devastating way possible. My dad had left his laptop open while he was out. I know it was wrong, but the curiosity was overwhelming. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. So, I searched his messages, and what I found made my blood run cold. He hadn't been late because of an old friend, he had been hooking up with my best friend's mom. They had arranged to meet at a nearby cafe while I sat waiting for him. As I scrolled through their messages, I saw more than I ever wanted to. Descriptive, explicit texts about their encounters. Plans to meet again. Lies upon lies that he had told me, face to face. I felt like the ground had been ripped out from under me. The more I read, the deeper my betrayal ran. My dad had been lying to me for months, if not longer. They had been meeting in secret, hooking up whenever they could, and hiding it behind the guise of our tennis matches. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. The worst part? It wasn't just the physical betrayal. It was the emotional lies, the way he had looked me in the eye and told me everything was fine, when in reality, he was living a double life. I closed the laptop and sat there in shock, my hands trembling. My best friend's mom. My dad. How could I ever look either of them in the eye again? For days, I kept everything to myself, trying to process the betrayal. I avoided my dad, making excuses to not hang out like we used to. Every time I saw him, the lies replayed in my mind. Every smile, every joke felt like a mask. I was drowning in the weight of the secret, but I couldn't bring myself to confront him. What made it worse was seeing my mom and little sister go about their lives, completely unaware of the ticking time bomb that was our family. My mom, the person who had always loved and supported us, was being deceived. And my sister, too young to understand, would soon be dragged into a broken home if this ever came to light. The tension finally reached its breaking point one evening when my dad came home late, reeking of guilt. I couldn't hold it in any longer. My voice cracked as I asked him point blank, "Who is she, Dad?" He froze, his face draining of color. "What are you talking about?" he stammered. I couldn't stop the words from tumbling out. I told him everything, how I knew about the texts, the secret meetings, and the affair with my best friend's mom. He didn't deny it. The silence that followed was deafening, heavier than any words he could have said. For the first time in my life, I saw my father not as a role model, but as a flawed, broken man. The confrontation didn't end the way I thought it would. My dad apologized, but it felt hollow. The damage was done. The trust was shattered, and I wasn't sure it could ever be repaired. My best friend, my partner in tennis, how could I face her knowing our parents were involved in such a mess? Every time I saw her, guilt gnawed at me, but I couldn't bring myself to tell her the truth. And now, I'm left in limbo, unsure of how to move forward. My family is falling apart, and I'm caught in the middle, trying to hold on to the pieces of my life that haven't been broken yet. Right now, I don't know what the future holds. My dad's betrayal has left scars I'm not sure will ever heal. The hardest part is knowing that the people I love the most are the ones who've caused the most pain. For now, I'm just trying to survive, one day at a time. The path ahead is uncertain, but I know one thing: I'll never be able to look at my dad, my best friend, or myself the same way again. This isn't just a story about lies. It's about the unraveling of trust, the destruction of bonds, and the painful reality that sometimes, the people who are supposed to protect us are the ones who cause the deepest wounds. With this, the story comes to an end, but the journey doesn't stop here. Thank you for exploring the stories that shape us. If you enjoyed this one, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content like this. See you again soon.